Good afternoon, Justin. Equinedge, we're here, Gulfstream Park. Close day yesterday. One too many singles in that pick six. Had the single early, the single race. A couple good bets on the win bet side, but just missed that pick six for $13. But ended up paying about $6.50, and the horse that was the price, the 16-1 in race seven, ended up. It was my third pick, which I kind of kicked myself again. We could have played that pick six a little bit more, but had three singles yesterday, so that's what we're trying to do. We just missed race two. It's not going to be a long one today. This is a good card, but um, I would say find and pick your spots because you just saw in race two is why I started here. You see that six horse ended up winning there in race two. And we're going to talk about race three because you have the retail pick five. So we'll jump there right in a second. That's probably my best sequence of the day. We have about a $48 ticket. We'll look at that here in a minute. But 22% with Equinedge, right? A bunch of firsters, which made this race really tough. And, Little Torch was, maybe going to show speed, but we didn't quite get it. And, not surprising, it was on the rail, second time out. But Six Horse was 22% for Debona. And you could see, debuts, Miggy rides. This wasn't necessarily a bunch of standouts, and the Safi runner took all the money, right? And the six just ran a great race. The four horse ran an outstanding race, Sweet Agenda. This horse was obviously ready to fire, but, backed up in the stretch there, and the six ended up winning the race. You got 9-2, but that horse probably play well if you had in the pick four and the pick five. And then, race one, there was a big price, $32 horse. It was a tough start to the early pick five, but let's jump in. I thought, hey, Gary, and everybody else, thanks for joining. Oldie and Mike Soletto will be on later. They'll be covering Gulfstream Park, Monmouth Park. You got Woodbine. I know they'll be covering Saratoga, even though we can't show it, but they'll be on later. And, again, I like the retail pick five here. It starts in pick three. So we'll go through this sequence and then might talk about one other race. But my biggest preference of the day really lied in – you can see race 3, 5, 7. I do like some long shots later in the card, and we'll talk about those in race 9. And then I liked race 10 in the stakes, but my horse scratched. But I thought the retail pick 5 was a good play here. Again, the cause can't bet into this, just retail bettors, $48 ticket. In the first leg here, I wasn't on Lady Cha-Cha. Going to look elsewhere. It makes it look like it's tough, but you have a morning line angle on Rachel Song, and then we'll talk about Starship Boeing. I'm just too deep here. We'll watch the race him to start. The 8 going to show some speed. They are on the Tapeta here, no turf racing again, and ultimately the 8 ends up winning the race in. But you look at Rachel Song, one last out in a 56, gets back over to the Tapeta for D'Angelo and Torres riding. Torres having just an outstanding, great apprentice meet, but gets back over to the Tapeta, and you can see this horse has one on the lead, one off the lead, tactical speed. I think fits at this level. Again, allowance optional claim. You have a morning line angle 8-5 for EE, and you're getting currently 4-1. So even might be a win bet there from a value perspective. So, and Torres riding great in an apprentice for D'Angelo. D'Angelo just behind Safi in the training title. He only 2 back. He got 34. Safi got 36. Carlos David up to 31 right there. So, but I thought Rachel Song had a big look. And then from the 7 again, taking money, I'm going to try to beat here as the favorite. Starship Boeing was my second pick and would use here, has been at these levels, protected. You look 2 back, nearly won a 58 on the grass. They flip over to the Tapeta here, and this horse I think probably wants the grass, but I think fits here, and it does have 5 seconds, but just going too deep in the retail pick 5. I'm going to try to beat the 7 horse, and I was 8 on top, Rachel Song. You're currently getting 4-1 there. So I thought that this was just a tough race if you don't single the 6. And, I think the 6 has a big look, but I'm spread here. I am cutting the 2 and 4, but I thought you could find a price here if you can beat the 6. A lot of money going to be on the 6 and 8, and they're both Sano horses. He's been fairly cold all meet. He does pick up wins occasionally, but I thought, you could try to get around there. So yeah, Rob, I'm with you, so, and I don't think the 8 needs to lead there in race 3. So they're not a lot of high pace numbers, but I do think it'll be competitive up front. So, And then, yes, 3 going to come off Reyes riding. But I thought here you could try to beat Spit the Bit. I know in both Sana horses going to both take money. So, we won't, not a big opinion there. I did like the exacta here in race 5. I'm just 410. You will see. So just 410. I know some people. I've seen people like the 8. Little people might like the 9. You might find some value towards riding there. But I thought here again on the Tapeta sprint 5.5. The 4 and 10 both have tactical speed. You can see here the 4, 5-2 on the E morning line. Like I like the exacta again. I think we get a good price here on the 410 exacta. You can Dutch it, see what type of value you get. I think, we probably can get at least 12, 14, maybe 16 to 1 is what I would hope in the exacta in race 5. And you can see the 10 wins on the race and the 4 runs second. But you look here, won all the smoke. I mean, he's facing way, way tougher and now drops here in the Acker Bart. Edwin Gonzalez rides having a great meet, but, did win up on the lead here. But, we'll see what happens here. I think from a pace perspective, there's not a ton of speed here. So I think the 10 and 4 will sit good trips. And again, on the drop, Edwin for Acker, first time in the barn. And then Roman Crichton with Luca Panici here on the 4 Sweet Sash. Again, another dropper and, comes out of 64s and 56s and 54s. And, that's a big drop. Has sit stocked off the pace, has shown some ability there. That was a 54 going 5. They are going 5.5. But, that's where I look. Both have big morning line angles with the scratches. It's going to be interesting where the money goes here. But just 410 for me there in the retail pick 5. And then, not big opinion here. I wanted to, but I struggled. You have a Safi firster that's 2-1 on the E-morning line at 4%. The source probably can run, but I did think you might find prices, right? So I like this bet. This hits, it's going to pay really good, So, and then in race number 7 is where I ended up singling here. And, I looked at this race and, I think Cajun Anthem will stop up front. That's my big thing. I don't think this horse can wire the field. So I think a horse like the 215 wins the race. It is a 9-horse field sprinting 6. So, Miguel's Bell, that's a tough post. But I think this 6 horse, I think will take pressure. You can see backs up in the stretch, and it really is between the 1, 2, 5 here. We'll talk about the 2, why I put the 2 on top. Madness that wins the race Simmons is the top pick. But, and you can see on the win percent. But if we look at Cajun Anthem, one up on the lead in a 44, had been racing up on the lead, stopped 3 back, going 6, right? Out of blinkers. And that was a 46. So stopped with the easy lead. And I think there's some other pressure here from the 3 and 9. Fuenmeyer, the other apprentice, riding the 3. And then you have Greenidge riding the 9. Both, the prince. I think there's a lot of speeders. So I think the 215 can sit the trip. The part I like about the 2, popular in the claim box, big time popular. Torres does well off the claim. You can see here 23%. Didn't win here, has shown that, might, runs its best races up on the lead. But what I would say, these were much tougher races. You look at this 48 up on the lead in one. I'm not sure this horse needs to lead. It has shown some ability when you look back here last winter at the championship meet for Crichton. Spats did show some ability, kind of stock right off the pace. And I think with all the speed, the 2 gets first jump. Torres or Miggy jumps aboard. He hasn't been aboard. Well, he did ride back here, way back here, and he was able to kind of try to run close to the pace in a 52 at this level. So I think it's back really to the right spot. I think the speed is cheap up front, has shown really good ability at 6 furlongs, 6 wins, and 8 tries. It's part of why I didn't like the 5. I would tell you, hasn't won at 6. And in a really competitive race, I'm going to slant towards the horse that's won at the distance, has proven success at the distance. So that's, retail pick 5. I thought was a really good bet. It's coming up here in race 3, post time in probably about 15 minutes. But I'll leave you all with, actually, I will talk about one other race. And again, I like, for anybody just tuning in, I like the exacta in race 5, the 4 and 10. Dutch it. I think you can box, but kind of Dutch it and, find the right value. I think you can get upwards of, 14, 16 to 1 in race 5. And then that'd be my, top kind of pick single of the card in race 5. I thought it was difficult. today. And I think you could also play a trifecta in race 7 here with the 2 horse. And I like the price on top for a win bet. Always bet your single. In race 9 will be the only other race I'll talk about. And then I hope you all have a good day. I did think the 10 and 2 are really good long shots here. So there's a lot of speed here on the synthetic. And I thought the 10 or 2 both coming off the pace had a big look. So make sure to use in your late plays, I would say. Um, Not huge preference in horizontal bets. So, if you're going to play late, 10 and 2 have a big shot. All right, y'all. It's a pleasure. I tried to do these a little bit shorter, but good luck today. Retail pick 5, race 3, coming up. And again, like the exacta race 5 as well with the 4 and 10. And the best bet, race 7, the 2 horse. It's only words. Good luck. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good afternoon.